The first surprising fact that we're going to jump into today are Costa Rica does have earthquakes. Now, it's not like the movies. You've probably, never really experienced an earthquake. First of all, I don't want to belittle the dangers of earthquakes. But normally what we call earthquakes, Costa Rica really divides it up into two different things. So, temblores, or tremors, and terremotos is earthquake. And while they're having major earthquakes, normally your tremors, which happens more often, look like this. And generally the aftermath of that is most of the time nothing, because you didn't know what was happening. Or if it's a little bit harder and you saw the water moving, and you go out the door, you ask your neighbor, and they say, "Yeah, see," then you know that you've probably been in one. And then everybody goes back in the house and continues what they're doing. Yes, there are procedures for an earthquake, and it does involve you supposedly jumping out of your house. But normally when it happens, it's so quick, you barely have time to get out the bed. Kind of a serious earthquake. Everything I said, kind of goes out the window. Another surprise for those, especially if you've never visited, or maybe visited once and you just thought that was kind of unique and maybe a one-off. That was normal. It's sunrise and sunset. So unlike the United States, where especially I was raised, spent most of my life in the Midwest, I don't know why they call it the Midwest. It is the complete. Spent most of my life in the Midwest, and the one beauty about summer was you had long days. Long days. Yeah, summertime, stay up late, sun's out. It's 5 o'clock at night, and the sun's out 10 o'clock. No, I'm just kidding. You had long days, but in the winter it was really short. One of my happiest thoughts about leaving the United States is I hated going to work and it was dark. And when I came home, it was dark. You know what I mean, especially in the wintertime. It was just like, man, my whole day was gone. With Costa Rica being close to the equator, sunrise on average is around 5:30 in the morning, which kind of, is surprising to people. Like, oh my goodness, the sun is up. Yes, the sun is up, and people are out, honestly. People are on their bikes, out walking, and people are up. And if they have to go to work on a weekday, they are up pretty early so that they can be out. So they're probably up a little bit earlier than that. So sunset is around the same time, give or take. I mean, it averages up and down about 15 minutes. And so 5:30 again, 5:30, 6 o'clock on it, depending on the time. The sunset sets, and so that was a surprise for a lot of people. They're like, "Oh my goodness, it's 6 o'clock and it's nighttime." Now, honestly, this takes some getting used to. It didn't really take too much for me, but for me, it was just adjusting my time, getting up earlier because I wanted more of the day, and I could enjoy the day, and it was sunny. So that's the bonus in Costa Rica. And the other surprise about Costa Rica, because I see a lot in forums, is the weather. The weather, there's microclimates. So what I mean by that is if you're living in a rainforest, it's probably going to rain a lot. It's probably going to be a lot more humid. If you're living on the beach, while it seems perfect and you went, one time in the perfect time of the year and the weather was perfect, on the other times of the month, it might be too humid. It might be raining a lot. You have to do your research. So when I picked Gracia, one of the things that I loved about Gracia was the weather. Now, again, Gracia is not the only place. I'm just using that example. Okay, no place in Costa Rica has snow. Let's just start with that. But when it comes to rain, there generally is a rainy season. Rainy season generally happens May through October. And what I mean by that is at some point in the day, it could rain. Now, normally you get your morning. So you get, again, I said that sunrise comes up at 5:30. You get from 5:30 to probably noon and 1 o'clock sometimes, and maybe even later, where you get like no rain, and then maybe at 2 o'clock it rains, and depending on the day, it can rain 15 minutes, it can rain, an hour or two. And so it's completely different experience than where I'm from, again, from Ohio. where it would rain like all day, all week, and nonstop. It doesn't happen like that. What it gives you the opportunity, you can do whatever you need to do, wrap everything up right before you think it's about to rain, head back in, and it'll cool things down. There's actually rainy season is not the end of the world. Honestly, it's pretty good because it kind of cools things down when it gets too hot. When people want to live in Costa Rica, they're asking, what's the best time of year to come? Honestly, it depends on you because it depends on where you're going. There are a lot of microclimates existing all at the same time in Costa Rica. If you're heading and you want to live close to a volcano, such as Mount Poas, honestly, it's around 51 degrees there, so it's pretty cold. It's a lot higher, and yeah, the temperature is a lot cooler than other parts of Costa Rica. Now, while Poas may be kind of cool, Guanacaste Liberia area, for example, is actually hot. And most people will say, Guanacaste is the hottest province of Costa Rica. And they actually have a good point. There's a lot of times where it's just very dry and hot. Now, you get acclimated. People get acclimated to the weather all the time. For me, if it's lower than like 72, it's actually, pretty cold to me. And again, I came from Ohio. But now, it feels good, especially embracing it in the 85s. 80 somewhere in there, I'm good. And so you actually have to see and adjust to find out the place you want to live. It's hard to just kind of take everyone's opinion and say, hey, what's the best place to live? What's the best temperature? Because honestly, it's opinionated. It is full of their opinions. So if you want to learn more about moving and living in Costa Rica, I want you to check out these 2 videos right here, and I will see you on the other side.